Add some easy power to your game with the Solinco Blackout 300 V2. Solinco updates its second generation of the Blackout with a stealth cosmetic and new technology. While the specs remain relatively the same, a new layup technology called Arch 2 was added to the frame for added power and stability, in addition to a power flex zone at 5 and 7 o'clock to increase energy return. The Blackout 300 V2 also features a generous sweet spot along with liquid crystal technology for a comfortable, solid feel. The Blackout 300 V2 was a very easy racket for me to use, very easy to play with. The specs were right on the money in terms of what I'm looking for out of a racket. And when it came to ground strokes, I loved the easy power and the easy depth I got with this racket. I was really able to be aggressive with my shots. I was able to step in and take control of points and move up to net. And then when I did get up to net, I really loved how easy the racket was to get into position. I found I was hitting most of my volleys as just a punch volley deep to end the point, did the job well. And then in terms of spin, I found it to produce above average spin, nothing special, but enough for me. Was maybe wanting a little bit more when I was really trying to flick my wrist, but for the most part, got the job done. And then when it came to serves and returns, I was actually surprised. I love this racket equally on both. I was getting enough power out of my first serve to win some free points, and was getting enough control out of my second serve to be aggressive, or my return, excuse me, to be aggressive and start the point off. Now, for the update compared to the V1, I found it to be a little bit less flighty, so that was my main issue with the first one. I felt I had a little bit more control and precision with this one. So overall, this was a really great racket for me. It's actually gonna go into my top 5 rackets.
I think if you are a fan of the original Blackout, then you're going to really enjoy this update. It has all the quintessential characteristics you'd want in a modern player's racket. It's very whippy, it has great access to spin, and I found the power level to be above average. And like with the previous version, I found this racket to have a slightly higher launch angle than other rackets of the same string pattern, which resulted in easy depth, a nice net clearance. Even when I was on the defensive, I was able to get some good depth on my shots. But like with the previous version, I found that this racket was still a little bit launchy for me. When I was really trying to swing out and try to hit winners, I was finding that I was missing long with this racket. But this update did reel back that flightiness just a little bit, and this update also, I felt, softened it up just slightly. So all in all, if you're looking for a player's racket around 300 grams that has great access to power and spin, this is one to check out.
I have to say, the first thing I noticed when I picked up this racket was the updated cosmetic. I wouldn't normally consider myself a fan of camo, but I really like how the black and gray work on this racket. And once I was on court, I really found it really easy to sink into this racket. It was something that's very familiar spec-wise, so I had no transition period with it off the baseline. I was finding really easy power. My game is relatively flat, however, I still could get those balls rolling when I needed to. I really liked it on topspin lobs. When I was pushed back off the baseline, I could get those up high and rotating and get myself back into a better position on court, so I really appreciated that. At net, I found it to be very maneuverable, pretty stable for its weight, as well as powerful, so I like to keep it simple, and it was a great racket for that. Unlike Brittany, I wouldn't consider myself a more aggressive player. I'm more of a defensive type player, and I found it to fit my game style pretty well. Like I said, when I was pushed off the baseline, I could use the power and the easy depth to get myself into a more neutral position. But also when I did get an opportunity to attack a shorter ball, I liked the power level and I was finding decent control. Overall, I found this racket to be really similar to the previous version, so if you're coming from that, it's going to be an easy transition, so great for players looking for power and easy depth.
The Blackout V2 is certainly a very fast swinging racket. Our samples came in at around 320 and under for the swing weight when strung. And I found the handling to be my favorite aspect of this racket. Just really quick through the air, so that allowed me to set up with plenty of time in advance and really just trust the racket to do most of the work. This is a pretty powerful setup, 300 grams, 16-19 string pattern, 100 square inch hoop, so you're getting something that's tried and true as far as the combination of specs goes. But with the updated internals, I do think that Solinco's onto something really special here. Not only does the Arch 2 construction feel great in terms of reliability and connection to the ball, but the addition of foam to the internals as well for this Blackout, I think is a huge step up. It kind of actually reminds me of the T-Fights a little bit from Technofiber, more power-based racket with really good feel. Again, that foam goes a long way to make the racket a little bit more solid. But overall, I found this racket to play really nice, really enjoyed this racket on my one-hander and two-hander off the backhand wing. And if I set up simple and just try to keep my motion loose on my forehand, I feel like the racket came through the ball really, really clean. On serve, again, the quick handling went a long way. I was hitting this racket alongside its extended length counterpart a lot, and I did prefer that one on serve, but this was still a great racket on serve for me as well. Not quite to my liking at the net, unfortunately. I would have liked a little bit more control on some of my volleys. Wasn't quite getting the finesse shots that I've been relying on a little bit more lately. But overall, if you like power frames with excellent feel, this is a really good option. That wraps up this playtest. Today we had the racket strung up with Solinco Hyper G at 53 pounds, one of our favorite combinations, as well as another Solinco prototype. For anything else tennis related, check us out at Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, and Tennis Only.